Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stars of Tomorrow podcast, episode 2. I am Heather Cannon. I am the co-founder and executive director for Uniting Distant Stars. We do work in Liberia, West Africa. We provide academic education to preschool to 12th grade students, and also we have a vocational training program. And I'm going to turn it over to my co-host.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kevin Na. I'm a volunteer here with Uniting Distant Stars. I had the pleasure of being introduced to Heather back in 2013 when I was still in high school. I was just, really taken by the mission of UDS and how they're wanting to do so much with the youth in Liberia, especially being able to give young people the tools that they need, not just to succeed today, but in their lives down the road. So very privileged to be a part of this effort here.
Yes, and we'll throw a powerful piece he wrote a few years ago. It could have been him. He had the opportunity to leave Liberia, and he was able to kind of assess if he had stayed there, would he have the same opportunities? So we'll put that piece in the show notes. Our topic today, and Kevin brought this up, and I think it was a perfect conversation, is about barriers to learning. And I think as we go through this today, I think some of these barriers are very similar no matter where you are in the world. So, what are some thoughts of your barriers, Kevin, what you see from your own experiences?
So one barrier that comes to mind is would probably be the willingness for discipleship or mentorship. Um, I just from some experience I've seen is where some adults aren't willing to take the younger generation under their wing. But even if they do, they're kind of still micromanaging in a way rather than, teaching and allowing the young people to, be a bit more hands-on. Um, I can just say for myself, I'm someone that is more of a hands-on kind of learner. I mean, I'll listen to what's supposed to be going on, but then I'd really like the opportunity to be able to do it myself. I mean, not to say that I know everything, but that's where I believe mentorship really comes in. So you see someone is doing something that's not really correct, but you just take the time to, highlight what they're probably doing wrong, advise them what they could be doing better. That way they're able to take that and move forward with it.
That's a good one. Yeah, there are people, yeah, I don't like micromanagers either. You want to be able to you want to get your hands dirty no matter what it is. And it's either the figurative dirty or the literal dirty. Um, Yeah, and I can say for Uniting Distant Stars, first we do 85% hands-on learning, and it is about you're not helping someone learn by you doing the work for them, right? You're
No,
you're
yep.
you're stressing yourself out because you're taking on too much work, and then you're not passing on that knowledge to the next generation that needs to, because we have this thing, it's called life and death. We're born and then eventually die. It was not,
Right.
if we don't pass that on, and that's the other thing with Uniting Distant Stars, it's really empowering young people to know those skills and apply those skills. Um, just being there in Liberia in October, I interviewed 8 of our alumni, and 8 or 6 of them are self-employed and 2 of them have jobs, and they would not be able to do that if they didn't have some skills there to show what they can do. We
Hmm.
can't really talk our way into things sometimes. we got to be able to we got to be able to walk our talk, right? No,
Yeah.
that's a good one. What's another one, do you think?
Another one I would say that might be a barrier is maybe just not having a sense of direction initially. And I'll just use another example with myself here. So in 2018, I graduated from the University of Minnesota Duluth. My major was cultural entrepreneurship, but I also had my certificate of business administration as well. Um, so after graduation, I didn't really have an exact idea as to what it is particularly I wanted to do. as far as post graduation. I mean, at times I had thought about it, but I didn't really have a plan per se. So for me, it was kind of just I had a few, I guess, jobs or a job that had me, just sustain me in the meantime.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until one of my church members, Brother Washington Toe, he encouraged me to apply for a position at Wells Fargo. Um, it was a customer service position with the auto department. But looking back at that time, it was actually something that's kind of propelled me to where I am currently. So for our listeners here and viewers, I currently work and I'm still at Wells Fargo. I'm in commercial banking. But that just being able to get into the door, and being able to be able to advance and get experience with different positions helped me to get to my current stage. And actually, I've been looking into financial crimes as a result of my current position. So just not having an idea right out of the gate. I mean, it's not to say that some people don't have an idea. It's just that maybe that sometimes due to circumstances out of their control, that they may not have an idea as to what the next steps might be.
And that's a great one. I was directionless too. I mean, I think sometimes you can have a lot of ideas and you have a lot of interests, but it's hard to hone them in to like a job description or a
Right.
job title. And it's through, yeah, trying different things and getting your foot into the door. And I think one of the things too we lack in this country and probably in a lot of countries is that no one ever kind of sits down and when you're in high school to say, what is your passion? What are your interests? To maybe give you some direction. And the one thing I like about when we recruit students and we bring them in, that's the question they ask. What's your passion?
Right.
And even if they don't know, they work with them to see, well, what are some of your interests? Maybe this might be, give this a shot, but
Mhm.
I know one of the people I interviewed, Harris Beyan, he realized, okay, I graduated from high school, and he graduated from our vocational training in 2019. So he graduated from high school. He was sitting down, and then he thought, oh, next year more high school students are going to graduate. They're going to be sitting down too. So what do I want to do? And so he and a friend, they joined the electrician program, and that's what gave him direction because he was able to finance himself to go to college at a private school. This year in February, he graduated with chemistry and biology, and now he wants to go for a master's in public health. So sometimes skill training, because it does so much more than just learning how to do something, you gain confidence. He was very good at networking.
Mhm.
So he's self-employed. He's an independent contractor. He doesn't have a business, but he's able to go out there, meet people, get the contracts, get the referrals. That's how he's been building it up.
Right. Oh yeah,
And here,
that's
yeah, and he had no direction. So it's cool that how that opened it up. It's just like, oh, I can do something. I think once you know you can finally do something, then you don't see things as hard.
yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off of that, when I applied to that first position, I was just like, I've never really thought of myself like working in a bank because I'll be honest, math wasn't really a strong subject for me in school. But there were more there was more to it than just numbers. It's
Correct.
being able to interact with other people and being able to work with other people. So you're able to, like you said, sharpen other skills as well, which could lead to other opportunities. So yeah, I just wanted to also piggyback. I wanted to pick it back up there because like you said, just because you go into one thing doesn't mean that you're confined to it. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's something that you excel in that can open the door to another opportunity.
Correct. Because once you get yourself into something, you get exposed to new information.
Correct.
And again, if you're somebody with too many interests, that still can cause a lot of confusion because now I got more places I can go.
Right.
So, so yeah, it's no, that's great. So what's another one that you think of?
Another barrier I would say is probably access to certain resources and I guess if you want to say opportunities. Because there are some individuals that don't have access to the same, I guess, opportunities or resources as compared to others. Just like for example, like if you're a high school student and like maybe you're a junior, senior, and you're starting to think about college, some families may not be in that position to afford college compared to others. I mean, of course, there's always financial aid, but not to say that others can afford that as well. So I just think that sometimes not being able to have access to certain things can be a disadvantage at times. But I feel like that's something that UDS does help with, as far as providing those resources, especially to those that may not have as much opportunities as others do.
And you're right about that. One of the big ones, of course, yeah, is that financial piece. And even though we still have to charge a certain amount of money because we still have to operate,
Hmm.
we found a way to make it affordable, but also have the flexibility. I think one of the biggest problems is we have rigid rules on people having to pay something back. Like you said, not everybody starts at the same place. They don't have the same like amount of money or family support or whatever it is. And so you can't start everybody the same way. And so like for us, we have a flexible payment plan. So it's not like some schools you have to pay X amount of dollars up for like the register. We have to pay your registration and then you got to pay
Yep.
so much down for your tuition. Well, not everybody can do that. And some of our people are still selling in the market, so they're only getting a small money every month or day or whatever. So it's that concept we talk about a lot, but we don't exercise is meeting people where they are.
Right. And I kind of wanted to piggyback off of what you might have just said about some families that are still working in the market. So that would just be, some maybe due to, different obligations or family obligations, they aren't able to pursue those
Hmm.
opportunities because in some cases they are the ones that their families rely upon.
Correct.
I feel like that's one that kind of doesn't really get highlighted a lot or enough. Sometimes
Correct.
it's not really much as a person not wanting to take advantage of opportunities, but they're just not in a position where they can just, drop everything and go pursue that because they still have people that depend on them.
Correct. And I think one of the things that we do with our vocational training program, and this even works for the instructors, is that the students and the instructor for each term, they determine the schedule and
Mhm.
they meet 3 times a week. So it's not like it's an everyday thing and then it's not all day. So it's like a couple hours or 3 hours are the courses. And because again, like some of our students I interviewed, they want to go to event decoration, but they want that in the evening. If it
Mhm.
was running during the day, they wouldn't be able to go to
Yeah.
that. So, so it's again, we're not like this dictatorship that okay, there's a like a office that determines the schedule and all that stuff.
Right.
Because again, you got, and again, you, as you know, in Liberia, you have young people selling like at 9 years old that are taking care of their families. So
Hmm.
you can't go by child adult type, logic. You have to look at, again, it's situational, meet people where they are. Like again, like in our academic side, some of these kids came in from the rural areas to a
Hmm.
relative or a friend, but they're not necessarily going to support them through school.
Right.
And so some of these young people are paying their way through school to get through. So again, it's allowing them the opportunity to go and but also to give them the flexibility to make that happen because if we had strict rules, a lot of these young people have been pushed out of other places, whether it's academic or vocational. So if you provide that flexibility, like some people, again, you can't always have, because we don't all start from the same place. We all
Right.
don't have the same situation. And if we don't allow that flexibility, and I think the other thing goes in that trust. we can have one person that do us wrong, but we can then not trust all the people that we think are the same. But no, yeah,
Right.
there's always going to be someone that is going to mess up. But for the most part, most people are decent. And if you treat people like that, you're going to get better results.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's kind of like, I guess, those institutions that offer night school or night classes. For those who, if they, have work or this, that, or whatever during the daytime, but they're still able to, you know, study or, go through their studies in the nighttime and at least have that time. I will say through my entire 4 years of college, I only had one night class. Because I kind of had a job at the bookstore my sophomore through senior year. So it was more, so my days were consisted of work and class depending on, how my classes were scheduled. And then, the nights were kind of, supposedly for, getting ready for the next day. It just so happened that my spring semester, my junior year, I had my first night class, which was about 6:30 p.m. So by that time, everyone's pretty much like, not really on campus. But anyway, it's just shows like how, you have that opportunity to still study at a later time, even though like maybe earlier on the day you have other obligations and things to attend to.
Yep, and I graduated. I didn't go to school until I was in my mid 30s to go to college, and I went to Metropolitan State University, and that school was geared for working adults. So pretty much all my classes were evening, if not maybe occasional Saturday. And it really helped to have that opportunity to have that flexibility because yeah, when you're a working adult, you can't usually, unless you have a night job, then you can go during the day.
Right.
But it might not always work that way. And yeah, so yeah, when you have more opportunities uh, for that, yeah, because time is a barrier too. Like if you could only do these at a certain time, and that's why every term the instructor and the students come to a compromise on what's the best schedule for them because that way you get better attendance for one.
Right. Yeah.
You get more commitment when they have a say in it, because yeah, it's easy for a school to say, well, this is the only time we're going to be open,
Yeah.
and but that doesn't mean again you're meeting people where they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I was always a big proponent of online classes. I more of a study your own pace where it's like,
Right.
okay, you don't have to be like in the classroom at this set time, but
Right.
here's the material and here's kind of a target as to when you should have this completed by. So you
Right.
kind of like, work at your own pace at like that. So yeah, that's definitely a great thing that UDS has where instructor and the students can kind of just like meet in the middle just to make sure that everyone's still trying to achieve the same goal there.
Yes. Yes. I think we're a big part of where we listen to what the youth want and we do everything we can to try to meet that. Um, you know, where we don't always meet them is all the courses they want. Because if you don't have the money, you can't do the course. So,
Right.
but a lot of the stuff we do offer was based on what they asked. So it wasn't like us randomly picking things, and like the other thing about I want to go into financial is I think that's a big one here.
Hmm.
Some schools over in Liberia charge just a huge rate for tuition.
Hmm.
And not everybody has someone in the US or Europe or wherever that's going to finance them. There are people that just don't have that type of connection. And so that leaves a lot of people out. And at the same time, other thing they can have is they'll break up a trade into multiple courses. So like catering, they require you to take a course for pastries, main courses, and cake. So those three separate courses, you have to pay tuition and go through the process for all three of them. Where our course, it's a 1 year course and all three are part of it, our one tuition is far cheaper than those three tuitions
Right.
together. And so like I interviewed three of our caterers graduates and two have two have businesses and one is actually employed at the US Embassy. And they liked that because they got the full product, everything that's part of that trade. They got it in one course and it transitioned so they could see how it all put together. It works with our cosmetology course the same, our computer course, and our electrician course. So I kept hearing that, yes, we like that because we got everything. And now when we are out there, we have a better understanding of what we do, where other people, they might only be able to go take one of those courses because that's all they can afford, And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, I think it's also studying the what your competitors are doing, and you're seeing the situation where there's a lot of young people being left out. How can we get more people into it? Because any country, when you invest in your young people with education or skills training,
Right.
they're going to be contributing members of society.
Yes.
And that's good for your society. It's good for
Oh,
your economics. It's good for,
absolutely.
reduces crime because they don't have to get into that. It's just, yeah. So it's just, it seems like it should be common sense.
Well, that's the thing they say. Common sense isn't so common, unfortunately.
Right, right. Okay, it looks like you froze, Kevin,
Oh.
but you can hear me, right?
Oh, yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay,
Am I okay?
perfect. If you want to, we can just pause a moment and you can, oh wait, I think, try again.
Oh, am I okay?
You're moving somewhat. There you go,
Okay.
for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Now it's better.
Awesome.
And another one I know that it hits, there's two more that I want to talk about here that hits both countries, US and Liberia. One is transportation.
Oh.
You
Oh, yeah.
know,
Yeah.
transportation is huge for a lot of people. And we've had people come from other counties that actually found people to stay near the school just to take our courses. Um, because the public transportation is not strong over there. There's
Oh,
a lot of it, but it's not necessarily
organized.
it's not always affordable, it's not always reliable or accessible because it's like it's random. Pick up a motorbike, pick up I call them motorized rickshaws. They call them KKs over there. You got taxis, you got these buses that so it's not like here you might get a bus pass and you always have a regular route.
Yeah.
It's not that consistent. And then here you got some people that are not able to get on public transportation, don't have vehicles.
Hmm.
And so I think one of the toughest barriers to overcome. And some people in Liberia have been displaced. They got moved out of where they were living near us and they got moved far away. So they might have to stop coming to us. I think that's one of the hardest things.
Right.
Um, you know, and I know it impacts a lot of people here too, that it's one of the biggest barriers. And and we're not in the capacity yet where we can have multiple different sites. We don't have that kind of money
Yeah.
to do that because that's one way you could solve that, but
Hmm.
it comes
Absolutely.
back to money again. And I think the other one that's very comparable is childcare.
Oh, yeah. Big. That's a big
You
one.
know, that's a huge one. And one of the things when we added our academic school in 2018, it did give some of the vocational students the opportunity to enroll their kids in there. And one of the people I interviewed, Elijah Somah, who's working at the embassy, he has all his kids there still today, and he graduated in 2019.
Oh,
So it is, again, you try to find better options for people that are more affordable, and it can help, but I would say probably our biggest one is transportation. We that one's a little bit harder to solve because we don't have the money to buy a big bus. And then
hmm.
again, you can't just have one bus to go all around.
Right. It's
That
like
could
there's
take all
just so
day
many different.
before you get everybody. So that one's going to take some work, but yeah, it's just the barriers are really huge. And another barrier, like here, there's certain things, I think a lot of our vocational training programs here require you to have a diploma.
Yeah.
All right. And as you know, your country had a civil war, and a lot of people never finished high school.
Mm-hmm.
or never maybe even got into secondary education. And so the only requirement we have for the computer class, and that's you have to be a high school student or have a diploma. So we don't even actually require that. But all the other courses, you don't need one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to a friend yesterday. Here we have those independent educational plans, IEPs. In Liberia, we can have a course where you can have someone who can't read and write
Mm-hmm.
with someone with a college degree, but our instructors just get to know these people and know how to teach to all of them. They know how to flex. They don't need a special program.
Right.
It's just again, meeting where you are, who are
And
you,
and
how
if
do
you
I need to things do differently? And one of the young women that's in our electrician course in January, she couldn't read or write. And UDS always takes the time. You're going to learn something more along the way. She's learning how to read and write through the process.
oh
So
yeah.
they get extra benefits because we want you to succeed.
Right. Yeah, and I think it just goes back to what I mentioned earlier about mentorship. Because what you mentioned earlier just kind of sounds like, okay, we can get, or some of our teachers, they tutor these individuals where it's like, okay, we can just like, take some of those that do have are proficient in those skills and be able to teach the others.
Hmm.
So that's just kind of a way to help that go hand in hand. And definitely the transportation point you brought up was a is a big one. Because here in the United States, well, it kind of depends on, I guess, where, like, certain states, like, okay, compare Minnesota to somewhere like Maryland, because I've been to Maryland a few times. Like some of the suburbs, they're not like here where it's like, oh, maybe 10 to 20 minutes between each other. If you're in Maryland, you're probably talking about 40 minutes to an hour
Mm.
between suburbs, and then of course there's the metro area, the metropolitan areas like Baltimore and major cities like that. So yeah, just being able to find a way that, and I guess that goes a bit more to a more of an infrastructure kind of topic where it's maybe that's a place of where improvement needs to go, as far
Hmm.
as the transportation department in Liberia, as far as organizing that, whether it's getting more buses, drivers, and just having actual routes mapped out, especially for those
Correct.
that are in those outside and rural areas.
Definitely. Well, when I was there, I noticed that the president had signed a rail agreement with the embassy. And I know before it was more freight trains, but
Hmm.
it would be nice to see if they actually had passenger trains, especially
Right.
rural area stuff.
Oh yeah,
That
definitely.
would be great, and because yeah, there's other modes of transportation and we rely too much on vehicles and 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 when you're overpopulated and you have more vehicles out there, it's really hard to move. But if you can have a train or something
Right.
and it has its own dedicated track where it's not on the road, um, then you're not, clogging it up. Yeah, and I just no, I think and I think another one, and I think we had brought it up before, is the family and friends that say, "Why would you want to do that?" Or,
General support.
that can be a barrier.
Oh yeah, definitely. Support from the family, friends, that that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like a lot of our women that we've tried to get into, like electrician, plumbing, auto mechanics, sometimes it can be the boyfriend. Well, why would you do that? And it's like, well, people are capable of a lot of things. And
Yeah,
one of the people
people
I
can surprise
interviewed, yeah, one of our people, Theophilus Dobson, said, yeah, it should be, he believes it should be gender inclusive because he knows when he was I met him in 2022, the first time I was there, and he had two female students in there with him. And when I was there, I said, you guys teach me. And one of the women was part of that. And she was right on. She's like, okay, these are the connections. And then we're going to boom, boom, boom. And the lights went on. And
you. Yeah.
so But yeah, we all probably had an experience where we had an idea we want to do something, and someone in our family said, why would you want to do that? And it's like, we're not all the same as our family and friends. We're all unique, and we might all have different interests. And instead of criticizing it, support
Yeah,
it.
like you mentioned, it's like here, like if you say you want to do something like, hey, I want to be a musician or something like that, or something in
Right.
the arts. Let's just focus on the arts because that's kind of an area of study where it's like some people are like, really? How are you going to make money? It's
Hmm.
like just because it's some like a passion of someone's doesn't mean that you
Hmm.
can't monetize it. I mean, not to say that it's going to happen overnight, but if you develop it, if you're able to develop it and give it time, who's to say that it's not going to be something that becomes profitable or something you can monetize? So I think
Correct.
that's just the thing with that is just being too dismissive initially, and not even like being able to be keeping an open mind. Let's call it.
There you go. Which can be a challenge for some
Oh
people.
yeah.
But it's hearing people out, and you know, and I think you can always tell passion because people's faces light up, their voice might change. Um, and if you can see that that's truly something that's coming within, yeah, don't dismiss it. Give them that opportunity to try. And if they don't make it, you gave them the opportunity to try.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so they're not regretting later. No, I think that no, I think that's very important because I think no, this is a good discussion because that is one thing we're aware of. We're doing everything we can to remove most of the barriers, and obviously you
Hmm.
can't remove them all. And but you're right. It's that mentorship. It's helping people find direction. It's providing resources that and have flexible amount of or a different amount of resources that it can help more people than just having just like a limited amount of resources. um it's like, do I need this requirement? You have to have a diploma to come here. No, I don't.
Right.
Because yeah, when you force someone to have to go to high school, and over there, if you want to go to school, you have to pay for it. It's not a public
Yeah.
education. And then you got to do vocational training. You're better off giving them the skills first. And then if they want to go complete that
Exactly.
stuff, they
Right.
can do that because now they have the means. So
Right.
yeah, so it's it's really just taking the time to examine what you're doing and listening. I think listening is a big part of it.
Yep. And exactly what you mentioned between, like if you might as well just give someone vocational training and then, they can pursue the academic aspect as well. It's kind of the age old, book smart versus street smart.
Correct.
I feel like it's one isn't more valuable than the other, because if you're book smart, who's to say that you're not so smart, on the outside? Whereas you can be smart on the outside, but maybe not have the book smarts. But I feel like no matter which one you have, there's no reason why you can't take what you have and then use that towards the other. So that's a very good point.
Yes. And I think sometimes street smarts might get you somewhere a little bit quicker because you have skills, you have knowledge, you know how to navigate the world better.
Yeah.
Because there is something about that. But yeah, I can give you a head start, I think, where sometimes where you can be too rigid into this is the theory, but not know how to apply it. And I think that's a big difference. But no, this has been good because I think it really, and I think young people more and more, because I know each generation that is coming out of school, less and less are getting cars. They're relying on transportation, things like that. Things are expensive.
Mhm.
So I think those barriers sometimes even get a little bit taller or harder to overcome. And I think we all need to be more aware of it because, you know, we have certain generations where they could have a minimum wage job and go to college. You can't, that's not possible in
Yeah.
this day and age. So we can't look at what was 40 years ago and think that's the same as well. And that's why I think we always got to stay in tuned to what has changed. And we can't think that we always keep the same system.
Yep. I agree. I think the best way to move forward is to be able to adapt to the changing in your environment in the world, and being able to use that to, you know, set up things in the future as far as that's concerned.
I agree. All right. No, this was a great discussion.
Oh yes.
All right. So, speaking of that, I think this can lead into our announcements. We actually have a fundraiser going on. It's for the Ishmael Gabion Memorial Scholarship. So Ishmael started with us in 2013 when we were a brand new organization. He was 13 years old at the time. We didn't have an academic school yet. We didn't have a building ourselves, and he got on a scholarship with another school. And then we started our vocational training in 2014 out of our co-founder's house, Calvin Fumba. And in 2016, we brought in computers, and he was part of that. He learned the computers. He started making money on that skill. He was paying his way through college. Unfortunately, he passed away in March of this year. And we want to honor his legacy because he was someone that showed how skills was a gateway to a better life.
Yes.
And so this scholarship is going to focus on our academic students. In Liberia, a lot of the academic students are not necessarily around the same ages that we would expect here in the US. Some are older.
Mm-hmm.
As I said earlier, some of them are paying their own way through academic school.
Right.
So this way they learn a skill. And through we talked about earlier about our 85% hands-on learning, a lot of people are earning money while they're learning.
Mm.
And so this can be very transformative. It can help them. And so far, we've already raised $3,655 over a $5,000 goal. And we have $1,345 to go. So we're more than half, which is exciting.
Ooh.
So that is something we'll be doing another push on Giving Tuesday, which is December 3rd. And we'll have a $500 match to help us to get across the line. We're also should be for our vocational training program, which is not tied to the academic. We will be starting our recruitment here anytime because the seven cohorts now, will be graduating here soon.
Exciting.
And yeah, and so there's an opportunity too, if you want to partner with them, they pay part of it. If you want to pay part of it, we have a program for that. We've also had a lot of Liberians who've actually sent family members there. So if you know anybody that is like needing some skills training, we do a lot of that. We found, and we've had some people really happy how it transformed that person's life. One of them actually got a scholarship to another country from that. It was in our computer program. So you never know where that's going to take them.
Oh yes.
And the other thing, we're always looking for volunteers. Kevin and I and everybody else are working full-time jobs. I have a full-time job. I'm actually in the banking industry too. I'm on the tax side of life. And so we always need volunteers. One of the things I would love help in is social media and also just kind of helping with fundraising. We're getting more like fundraising ideas. It's just executing and stuff like that. So there are opportunities as well. And I know Kevin and I are figuring this out, and I know we'll have an idea for our next episode. So we don't have that quite announced yet. Right now, we're just going to do this monthly because, again, we're full-time workers.
Right.
we have to be practical on this. But if you think of Stars of Tomorrow, it's really the next generation, and it's helping young people have sure footing, so they can be self-sufficient, so they are contributing members of society. We hear a lot that some people have no direction here as well. They feel like they're sitting at home living with their parents, and maybe not everybody has to go to college. maybe there's a ways that we can look at getting more people in vocational training here. There's like you said earlier, what are all the opportunities? What are all the resources?
Yeah.
And get that out there. You got any closing thoughts here?
Yes. So you mentioned the Stars of Tomorrow podcast. I believe for now, that can be found on YouTube. If you just search Stars of Tomorrow, we'll be there for now. But yeah. And you alluded to earlier the article I had the privilege of writing back in, I believe, 2017, that summer. Yeah.
Yeah, something.
2017. I believe it's on the homepage, the United Distance Stars homepage.
It's on our blog. Yep.
On the blog, if anyone wants to check that out.
And I'll put it in the show notes too, the link, so that way it's easy to get to. And yeah, we'll be promoting this in our newsletter, social media, once we get it all ready to go. And yeah, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to grow this thing as well, like everybody else is. And it's just, Kevin and I are giving you an opportunity to know that we live in it seems like a big world, but it's a small world, and we can show you how things are sometimes not that much difference between US and Liberia, and that we're not so different.
Yeah, I mean, both countries are kind of like relatives. I mean,
they are relatives.
Just look at the flags. Just slight differences there.
Slight differences, but historically they are relatives.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we'll have to talk about more of.
No, that could be another topic, actually.
Yes, it could be. Because unfortunately, we don't quite teach that in our schools.
Oh, but that's what we're here for.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Kevin, for being part of this.
Thank you for having me. Hope you guys have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.